Welcome to Your Daily Writing Habit, episode number 920. If you are writing a book or thinking about it, or maybe you've started writing a book but you need some help getting it done, you are in the right place. Happy Sunday, everyone. I'm your host, Christine Whitmarsh. If you're looking for me online, look for Christine Inc., like that stuff we write with. Each day, I'm sharing with you the writing habits I've learned over my 20 years as a ghostwriter, book coach, and author. I have found that three things in particular have a huge impact on your success as an author, and they can even turn someone who barely sees themselves as a writer into a published book author. Those three things are writing fundamentals, productivity, and mindset habits. And once again, happy Sunday, everyone. As we do every Sunday here on the show, it is Sunday Story Time, where I grab a book off my shelf, whether it's one of my own books, a client book, or a book that has positively impacted me in some way. I read you an excerpt from that book, followed by some sort of learning question that you can use to apply the information to your own work. Today, I have selected a book. It's the third category, a book that has positively impacted me in some way from my shelf. It's called Your Life as Story, Writing the New Autobiography, and it's by Tristan Rainier. And the name of this excerpt is Imagine Your Life as a Movie. To imagine your life as a movie, you take the opposite approach. You initiate writing no narrative summary. Instead, you simply list possible scenes by asking yourself to visualize your story as a film script. With this technique, whatever you wish to communicate can be expressed only through events that a movie camera could film. You must tell your story through scenes set in a particular time and place in which something happened to you or in which you did or said something. At first, a lot of your memories may seem too general to assume the specificity of a dramatized scene. You recall that you and your spouse often went to dinner parties given by another couple when you were first married, but just when you first begin to suspect that they were drug smugglers, you cannot recall. In this exercise, you can't summarize. In time, I began to wonder where they got their money. Rather, you choose one particular evening and one particular place where that suspicion could have arisen, and perhaps a specific sentence he said or action she took that led to it. By asking yourself the questions where, when, and how, you can bring a scene to consciousness. Out of the inky darkness of memory, suddenly a scene surfaces, like the called-for answer to the top of a shake-it-up magic 8-ball. It floats, an island in the surrounding blackness. Generally, a scene first appears in memoirs as a frozen moment, a single frame. This provides the one-sentence gist you put down on your list. Later, you can develop the full scene by starting with this single image and, through reverie, run the film backward to the beginning of the scene and forward to its end. If you simply cannot come up with a scene for a particular occurrence, you can finesse that item on the list because, unlike the screenwriter, you can fill in with narrative summary. This exercise works best, though, if you force yourself to imagine how you would have to dramatize your story for a film. As you list your scenes, some incidents may come to you out of chronological order. Just put them down as they come. You can rearrange the list later. You could even, as screenwriters do, put each scene on an index card so that they can be sorted to create the most dramatic structure for your story. Another way to experiment with the sequencing of scenes is to type your list on a computer, then play with different chronologies to see which most clearly defines the shape of your story. Making scene lists lets you anticipate structural mistakes before writing at length in the wrong direction. Making scene lists of what you have already written can help you analyze where your story may have gone wrong. And that, again, was an excerpt from a fantastic book on memoir writing called Your Life as Story, Writing the New Autobiography by Tristan Rainier. And here is a question for you. Now, it's easy when developing and then writing a book to fall into the trap of trying to figure out the entire book all at the same time, rather than breaking it down into pieces, looking at each one, and then putting it together like a puzzle. Or in the case of today's Sunday Story Time, like scenes in a screenplay. As someone who has written many screenplay drafts during my LA years, I used more than a few screenwriting techniques when writing books. The many things we as authors can learn from screenwriting techniques is a much bigger conversation for another time. I'm thinking maybe Thursday episode of the show this week, if you want to tune in then. We'll talk about some screenwriting tools that you can use. In the meantime, here is a learning question for you to ponder. What developmental gifts might you uncover if you take your book apart and look at its individual pieces, even shuffling the chronology, as she mentioned in her book? Also, like screenplays, don't feel like you need to write your book in order or even look at it that way. Sometimes we get stuck in linear A to B thinking. Maybe that's because that's how life works, as far as we know. But creativity is rarely a linear journey. Switch things up and see what you find out. Thank you for joining me here on Your Daily Writing Habit, where I am helping you write and finish writing an awesome book. And please drop by my Inc. Authors group on Facebook and let us know how we can support your writing goals. Until tomorrow, happy writing.